The email from my mother-in-law sits in my inbox like a ticking bomb. 3 hours now, and I still haven't opened it. The cursor hovers over her name, Helen Montgomery, while my stomach churns with familiar dread. I'm Morgan, and I've spent the last 6 years translating other people's words while struggling to find my own with this woman. The irony doesn't escape me. My phone buzzes. Ryan's message pops up. Mom says she sent you something important. Did you get it? Of course, she's already told him. Helen's never missed an opportunity to point out my perceived shortcomings to her precious son. I take a deep breath and click. Dearest Morgan, we're hosting a special family dinner this Saturday. Your presence is required, as Richard and I have an important announcement to make. Please wear something appropriate. Love, Helen. Required. Not requested. Not hoped for. Required. Like I'm some subordinate she can summon at will. And that pointed comment about appropriate clothing, a dig at the cocktail dress I wore to their last gathering, which she deemed too young for a woman approaching 30. My phone buzzes again. Well? Ryan asks. Just opened it. Dinner invitation for Saturday. That's great. Been a while since we've all gotten together. I stare at his response, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. How do I tell my husband that every dinner with his mother feels like walking into a minefield blindfolded? That each seemingly innocent comment from Helen carries the weight of judgment and disapproval? Should I respond? I type instead. Already told her we'd be there. Of course he did. My fingers curl into fists. 6 years of marriage, and he still doesn't understand how these dynamics work. Or maybe he does, and he's choosing the path of least resistance. Either way, I'm trapped. I close my laptop and pace our home office, my sanctuary where I spend hours translating documents from French, Spanish, and Mandarin. Languages I've mastered but keep hidden from Helen. She still thinks I'm just a housewife who occasionally plays at freelancing. Let her think that. Sometimes, the best revenge is letting people underestimate you. My phone lights up with a message from Jenna. Coffee? You look like you need it. I smile. She can't actually see me, but after 15 years of friendship, she has a sixth sense for these moments. Helen's summoning us for dinner. Big announcement. Oh shit. Meet you at Joe's in 20? I grab my keys, already feeling lighter. At least someone understands what I'm up against. And maybe, just maybe, this time I'll find a way to turn Helen's games against her. Helen's dining room feels like a stage set for her latest performance. Crystal glasses catch the chandelier light while Richard fidgets with his napkin, avoiding eye contact. Ryan squeezes my hand under the table as his mother emerges from the kitchen, carrying her signature coq au vin like it's the crown jewels. I learned this recipe in Paris, Helen announces, serving Ryan first. Speaking of Paris. My fork freezes halfway to my mouth. There it is, the setup I've been dreading since that email arrived. Richard and I have been planning something special for our 35th anniversary, she continues, her voice dripping with manufactured warmth. We've decided to take a family trip to Paris. All of us together, for 2 weeks. The coq au vin turns to ash in my mouth. 2 weeks trapped with Helen in a foreign country. Except it's not foreign to me, a detail she doesn't know. That's unexpected, I manage, watching Richard's knuckles whiten around his wineglass. Isn't it wonderful? Helen beams at Ryan. Your father's already arranged everything. The finest hotels, private tours. We'll even have a professional guide for translation. I catch the slight emphasis on translation, another dig at my supposed limitations. Ryan's face lights up with genuine excitement, and my stomach twists. When? I ask, already knowing I won't like the answer. Next month, Richard speaks for the first time, his voice carrying an undercurrent of apology. The 14th. The same week, I'm supposed to video conference with my biggest client, a French publishing house. The timing can't be coincidental. Helen's smile doesn't quite reach her eyes as she watches me process this. Perfect timing, she adds. Ryan mentioned you've been less busy lately with your little translation hobby. My fingers tighten around my fork. Ryan shifts uncomfortably beside me, but says nothing to correct her assumption. Of course, he hasn't told them about my success. We agreed to keep it private, but his silence now feels like betrayal. We couldn't possibly accept such an expensive gift, I start, but Helen waves her hand dismissively. Nonsense. Family should be together. Unless. She pauses, perfectly timed. There's some reason you can't go? The challenge in her voice is clear. Refuse, and I'm the ungrateful daughter-in-law who spurned their generosity. Accept, and I walk straight into whatever trap she's laying. No reason at all, I hear myself say. Paris sounds perfect. Richard's eyebrows lift slightly, the first genuine reaction I've seen from him all evening. He knows his wife too well not to recognize a scheme in motion. But like always, he says nothing. Wonderful. Helen raises her glass. To family. I lift my glass, meeting her gaze. To Paris, I counter, and for a moment, something like uncertainty flickers across her face. Game on, Helen. Game on. Jenna slides her phone across the cafe table, and my world tilts sideways. There on the screen is a message from Sarah Peterson, Helen's bridge partner and notorious gossip, forwarded through 3 different people before reaching Jenna. Poor Ryan, supporting both himself and that wife of his. Helen says the girl barely works, just pretends to do some online typing to save face. Thank goodness Ryan makes enough to cover her shopping habits. My coffee turns bitter in my mouth. 6 years of building my translation business, of carefully managing our finances so Ryan could take risks in his career. 6 years of Helen's snide comments about my work ethic, and now this. There's more, Jenna says quietly. Keep scrolling. Each message gets worse. Helen's been busy, painting me as a gold digger who trapped her son. The timestamps show she's been spreading these rumors for months. I made twice what Ryan did last quarter, I say, my voice barely steady. I bought our fucking house. Maybe it's time to tell people the truth, Jenna suggests, but I'm already dialing Ryan's number. He answers on the 3rd ring. Hey, can I call you back? I'm heading into a meeting. Did you know? The words come out sharp enough to cut. About what your mother's been saying? Silence. Then, Morgan, you know how she gets. If we just ignore it. Ignore it? My laugh draws stares from nearby tables. Like you ignored it when she told everyone I was playing Office while you supported us? Like you ignored it when she implied I was stealing your money? She's just traditional. She doesn't understand modern marriages. Stop making excuses for her. My hand shakes as I grip the phone. She's systematically destroying my reputation, and you're letting her. More silence. Then, softer, what do you want me to do? I want you to stand up to her. Tell her to stop. Tell everyone the truth. You know that'll just make things worse. Worse than this? I cut him off. Worse than finding out my husband's been complicit in his mother's character assassination? That's not fair. No, what's not fair is that I've spent years hiding my success to protect your mother's fragile ego. Well, guess what? That ends now. Either you tell her to stop, or I will. And trust me, she won't like my version. Morgan, please. Just wait until after Paris. We can figure this out. Paris. I laugh again, and this time it sounds dangerous even to my ears. Oh, don't worry. I'll be there. In fact, I'm looking forward to it. I hang up before he can respond. Jenna watches me with concern, but I'm already pulling out my laptop. What are you doing? She asks. Accepting a job. I open my email, fingers flying across the keyboard. The French publishing house wanted me in Paris next month anyway. Might as well kill two birds with one stone. Morgan. Don't worry, I say, hitting send with savage satisfaction. I'm done playing the dutiful daughter-in-law. It's time Helen learned who she's really dealing with. The bank statement sits open on my desk like a loaded gun. 6 figures in my business account, proof of everything I've built while Helen painted me as a parasite. My phone buzzes with another message from Ryan, the 10th since our fight. I ignore it. Instead, I open my laptop and pull up the video call with Monsieur Laurent, my biggest client at the French publishing house. Morgan, ma chérie. His familiar face fills the screen. I trust you've considered our offer? Yes, I reply in fluent French. I can be in Paris next month for the contract signing and editorial meetings. Magnifique. Though I thought you initially said those dates were impossible? A knock at my home office door interrupts us. Morgan? Ryan's voice, uncertain. Can we talk? A moment, I tell Laurent, switching to English as Ryan enters. I'm in a meeting. Ryan freezes, staring at my screen. Laurent's prestigious publishing house logo glows behind him, and I watch comprehension dawn on my husband's face. You speak French? The question comes out flat. Pardon the interruption, Monsieur Laurent. I'll email you the signed contract within the hour. After ending the call, silence fills the room like smoke. Ryan picks up the bank statement I deliberately left visible. All this time. He shakes his head. Why didn't you tell me you were this successful? Would it have mattered? You never corrected your mother's assumptions. Because you asked me not to make waves. You said it was easier. Easier than what? Watching you choose between your wife and your mother? I already knew who'd win that battle. He flinches. That's not fair. No? I pull up Helen's latest email about Paris. Your mother's planning to hire a translator for our trip. She's already told everyone how embarrassing it will be watching me stumble through basic French conversations. And you've said nothing. Morgan. I bought this house, Ryan. I paid off your Master of Business Administration loans. While Helen was telling everyone I was bleeding you dry, I was building something real. And you let her. He sinks into a chair, deflated. What do you want from me? I want you to choose. Really choose, not just say what you think I want to hear. By humiliating my mother in Paris? Is that your plan? I laugh, and it sounds like breaking glass. Humiliation implies I'd have to do something to her. All I have to do is be myself, the self I've hidden to protect your family's delicate sensibilities. Please, just wait. The contract's signed, Ryan. I'll be in Paris, with or without your support. The question is, when the truth comes out, which side of it will you be standing on? He stares at me like he's seeing a stranger. Maybe he is. Maybe I'm finally becoming who I should have been all along. You have until we leave to decide, I say, turning back to my laptop. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do. Paris in June should feel romantic. Instead, the air in our hotel suite crackles with tension as Ryan adjusts his tie, carefully avoiding my gaze. 3 days into the trip, and we've barely spoken. A knock at the door makes us both jump. Helen sweeps in without waiting for an answer, wearing an expensive new dress and her trademark superior smile. There you are. The translator's waiting downstairs. I've arranged a lovely tour of the Latin Quarter. She pauses, eyeing my casual outfit. Oh dear, Morgan. Didn't you pack anything appropriate? Before I can respond, my phone buzzes. Monsieur Laurent's message lights up the screen, meeting moved to Café Madeleine. Urgent contract revisions needed. I can't make the tour, I say, grabbing my laptop bag. Work emergency. Helen's smile turns predatory. Work? Oh, your little online typing thing? Surely that can wait. This is family time. Morgan, Ryan starts, but I cut him off. Actually, it's a meeting with a publishing executive. In person. I head for the door, then pause. Don't worry about the translator. I'm sure they're expensive. You should cancel. Helen's face flushes. You can't just abandon our plans. Watch me. The slam of the door behind me is satisfying, but Helen's voice carries through it. Ryan, darling, this behavior is exactly what I warned you about. She clearly doesn't value family. I'm halfway down the hall when Ryan catches up. You're making this worse. Worse than what? Your mother hiring a translator to prove I'm incompetent? Planning this whole trip to humiliate me? She's trying to help. Bullshit. My voice echoes in the ornate hallway. She's trying to prove she's right about me. And you're letting her. A couple passes us, speaking rapid French. I automatically understand their whispered commentary about the arguing Americans, and for a moment, I'm tempted to respond in perfect French just to see Ryan's face. Where are you really going? He asks. Exactly where I said. Unlike some people in this family, I don't lie about who I am. His face hardens. That's rich, coming from someone who's been hiding their abilities for years. The words hit like a slap. I hid them to keep the peace. But peace isn't worth the price anymore. And what price is that? My self-respect. I step into the elevator. You should ask yourself what price you're paying, always choosing her side. As the doors close, I glimpse Helen emerging from our room, her face triumphant. She thinks she's winning, forcing this wedge between us. She has no idea I'm done playing defense. Tomorrow, at the publishing house meeting, everything changes. I just hope my marriage survives the fallout. Café Madeleine bustles with morning customers when Helen's voice cuts through the crowd. Morgan? What a surprise finding you here. Of course it's not a surprise. She's followed me, the translator trailing behind her like a lost puppy. Ryan and Richard hover uncertainly near the entrance. I'm working, I say, gathering my contract papers. Monsieur Laurent is due any minute. Oh. Then you won't mind if we join you. Helen slides into the chair across from me, her smile sharp as broken glass. Since you're so busy, perhaps our translator can help you communicate? The translator, a young woman named Sophie, looks uncomfortable. Madame Montgomery, perhaps we should. Nonsense. Show us what you do, Morgan. What important work pulled you away from family? My hands shake as I try to collect my papers, but Helen snatches one before I can stop her. Her eyes scan the French text, widening slightly. A publishing contract? She turns to Ryan. Darling, did you know about this? Before he can answer, Monsieur Laurent appears, speaking rapid French. Morgan! J'ai les modifications finales pour le contrat. He stops, noting the tension. Helen's face transforms from mockery to confusion as I respond fluently in French, explaining the situation. The translator's eyebrows shoot up. You speak. Helen starts. French? Yes. Along with Spanish and Mandarin. The words taste like victory, but Ryan's face has gone pale. I'm not just signing a contract, Helen. I'm negotiating my fourth book translation deal. I make more in a month than your translator makes in a year. Silence descends like a guillotine. Richard studies his shoes while Ryan stares at me like I'm a stranger. All this time, Helen whispers, "You've been lying." No. I've been protecting your ego. There's a difference. I stand, gathering my papers. I bought the house you love to criticize. I paid off Ryan's student loans. While you were spreading rumors about my shopping habits, I was building a career you couldn't even comprehend. Morgan, Ryan finally speaks, his voice strained. Why didn't you tell me everything? Because you never asked. You were too busy defending her lies. Helen recovers, her voice turning venomous. So this is who you really are. A deceiver. Playing the victim while manipulating my son. That's enough. It's Richard who speaks, surprising everyone. But before he can continue, Ryan turns and walks out. The cafe falls silent. Helen's triumph blazes across her face as I watch my husband disappear into the Parisian crowd. 6 years of marriage, crumbling in 6 minutes. Monsieur Laurent clears his throat awkwardly. Shall we reschedule? No, I say, my voice steady despite the tears threatening to fall. We finish this now. In fact, I have a new project to propose. A memoir about family, betrayal, and the cost of silence. Helen's face drains of color. Finally, she understands. This isn't just revenge, it's liberation. The hotel bar gleams with crystal and wealth, exactly the kind of place Helen loves. She's holding court with her friends when I walk in, her voice carrying across the room. Of course, we had no idea she was deceiving everyone. Poor Ryan. Perfect timing. I slide my phone from my purse, already recording. Helen. My voice cuts through the murmur of conversation. We need to talk. She turns, face composed in practiced concern. Morgan, dear. I was just explaining to everyone how I deceived your son. I move closer, aware of the watching crowd. Or how you've spent years spreading lies about me. I only told the truth as I knew it. The truth? I laugh, the sound sharp enough to make her flinch. Let's talk truth. I pull out my phone, playing the recording from earlier, her voice clear as she tells her bridge club about my supposed shopping addiction. My dependency on Ryan. Now, I continue, switching to perfect French for her gathered friends. Shall we discuss who's really been deceiving whom? Her friends shift uncomfortably as I continue in French, detailing my career, my income, the house I bought. With each word, Helen's facade cracks further. Stop this immediately, she hisses in English. Why? Isn't this what you wanted? A public scene? A chance to expose the truth? You're making a fool of yourself. No, Helen. You did that all on your own. I turn to her friends. Did she tell you she hired a translator to humiliate me? That she's been orchestrating this entire trip to prove I'm a gold digger? Morgan. Ryan's voice. I turn to find him in the doorway, Richard beside him. That's enough. Actually, Richard speaks up, surprising everyone, it's not enough. Helen, this has to stop. Helen's face contorts. Richard, you can't possibly. I've watched you destroy every relationship Ryan's ever had. Not this time. He turns to me. I'm sorry, Morgan. I should have spoken up years ago. The bar falls silent. Helen stands, trembling. Ryan, surely you see what she's doing? But Ryan moves to my side, taking my hand. I see exactly what's happening. I've been seeing it for years, I just didn't want to admit it. Choose carefully, Ryan, Helen warns. If you side with her. That's the problem, Mother. There were never supposed to be sides. He squeezes my hand. But if you're forcing me to choose, you won't like my decision. Helen's mask finally shatters. She grabs her purse, nearly running from the room. Richard watches her go, then turns to us. She'll never forgive this, he says quietly. Good, I reply, meeting his gaze. Because I'm done seeking forgiveness for being successful. For being strong. For being myself. Ryan pulls me closer, and for the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe freely in Paris. The morning sun streams through our hotel window as I pack, each item a decision about what to carry forward and what to leave behind. Ryan sits on the bed, holding Helen's letter. She wants to meet, he says quietly. Before we leave. I pause, a silk scarf suspended between suitcase and air. The same scarf I wore to that first dinner when Helen announced this trip. What do you think? I think. He folds the letter carefully. I think she's scared. Of losing control. Of losing me. Of losing the narrative she's built. A knock at the door interrupts us. Richard stands there, looking older than he did a week ago. Helen's downstairs, he says. In the garden. I nod, but instead of heading down, I move to the window. From here, I can see Helen on a bench, her usual perfect posture crumpled. She looks small against the sprawling roses. You don't have to go, Ryan says. Actually, I do. I grab my phone, then pause. But not to make peace. The garden air smells of rain and roses when I approach. Helen starts to rise, but I shake my head. Morgan, No. My voice is quiet but firm. You're going to listen. For once in your life, you're going to listen. I sit beside her, maintaining careful distance. I'm not going to accept your apology. I'm not going to pretend the last 6 years didn't happen. But I am going to thank you. She blinks, confused. Thank you for showing me exactly who I don't want to be. A woman so afraid of other women's strength that she tries to destroy it. Thank you for pushing me to finally stand up for myself. I never meant. You did. You meant every word, every scheme, every lie. I turn to face her fully. But here's what happens now. Ryan and I are going home. We're going to build our life, our real life, without your interference. And you're going to live with the consequences of your choices. You can't take my son. I'm not taking him. You lost him all on your own. I stand, smoothing my dress. I've already sent the recordings to everyone in your social circle. Not for revenge, though that would be satisfying, but for protection. So everyone knows exactly why we're stepping away. Her face crumples, but I feel no satisfaction. Just a quiet certainty. Goodbye, Helen. As I walk away, she calls out, I could change. I stop but don't turn. Maybe. But I won't be there to see it. Ryan waits by the hotel entrance, our bags ready. Okay, he asks. I take his hand, feeling the strength in his grip. No, I answer honestly. But I will be. The Paris traffic hums around us as we leave, a symphony of movement and life. Behind us, the garden grows smaller, Helen's figure blending into the roses until she disappears completely.